Rob's got a jingle.
Because the jingle already exists. Like triple R-S-A-T. We just build the thing around the jingle, man. I'm telling you, Sleep Country, we're coming for you.
Welcome to AT Banter, the podcast where we discuss anything and everything regarding the world of assistive technology. With our hosts, Steve Barkley, Rob Minot, and Ryan Fleury. Now, let's banter.
Hey, and welcome everybody to yet another episode of AT Banter.
Banter.
I am Rob Minot. Today I am joined by Ryan Fleury.
Hey there.
And Steve Barkley.
Look, it's me.
That's right. Hey, sad news, eh?
Yeah.
Stuart McLean.
Oh, yeah,
Stuart
Vinyl
McLean
Cafe.
died.
The end of the Vinyl Cafe.
Oh,
It's so sad.
yeah.
Listened to that for years.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, I know this is a real cultural thing because the number of people who have on my social feeds been lamenting this and talking about how much they listen to it, I feel almost un-Canadian. I think I've listened to Vinyl Cafe maybe twice in my life.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Download the podcast and go back and listen to some of them. He's just such a good storyteller.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you know what?
So
I'm kind
good.
of with Steve. I've actually only heard it a couple times.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a real huge part of my life, like a lot of people apparently. But wow, to lose Leonard Cohen and Stuart McLean in like the same year. Well, wait, no. Technically, I guess we lost him.
Leonard was last year.
Was he last year?
Okay.
Okay. Well, but still, it's in the same 2 months.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's a big hit to Canadian culture right there.
And the what's his name? Tragically Hip.
Gord Downey, yeah.
Gord Downey.
Well, he's not dead yet. is
Well,
he?
no, I don't think so. But
Yeah, he's still with us.
he's sorry, Gord.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Reports of your death have been greatly
I didn't
exaggerated.
mean he was dead, but I just
That's
mean,
fake news, Rob. Fake news.
An alternative fact.
We're going to get banned from Facebook.
Hey, so I'm excited about today's episode.
Yes, we're right in your wheelhouse here.
Both our wheelhouses. Come on, you're a video game geek too.
I don't think I'm a video game geek to the same level that
Maybe
you're
not,
a video game
but
geek.
we're kindred spirits.
Yes.
We're kindred spirits. We're going to be talking to Mark Barlet, who is the executive director and founder of the Able Gamers Foundation.
Fan bloody-tastic.
I know. A topic near and dear to our hearts.
Yep.
Video games. Ryan, what was your favorite video game growing up?
Well, when I was growing up, we had ColecoVision.
Yep.
We had the Atari 2600.
Yep.
So
What about the Intellivision? Can't forget the
I
Intellivision.
never had the Intellivision or played it, but I guess the game I had the most fun with was arcade game. Like in the arcades would be Hang On. It was the
Hang On.
motorcycle. You get on
Okay.
a motorcycle.
Right.
And
Is that
you'd
the
be
one you
driving the
ride?
track. Yeah.
Okay.
So I like that one. And then for the consoles, if you want to call them that, I'd always like the Donkey Kong.
Oh, yeah. Donkey Kong. Yeah, that was a classic. That was a ColecoVision classic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Frogger. Can't forget Frogger.
Yeah, it's true.
Joust.
Joust. Yeah.
I love Joust.
Joust was pretty cool. Joust. But you would have been a Nintendo kid, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I
Never did.
remember Zelda.
Yeah.
I didn't play Nintendo a lot. Zelda's the only one that's coming to mind.
Really? You didn't?
Yeah.
Mhm. I had a Genesis as well. That was my college years, but spent a lot of time drinking and playing my Genesis. All right. Well, then without further ado, why don't we go ahead and bring them on?
Let's bring him in.
Let's do it.
We are happy to have with us today Mark Barlet, who is the executive director and founder of the Able Gamers Foundation. Hey, Mark.
Hi, how are you?
We are well. So let's start things off and just tell us a little bit about what you guys do at the Able Gamers Foundation.
So Able Gamers is a charity that was really founded to make sure that people with disabilities can have a rich social life and rich social experiences, using video games as kind of the tool in which we do that. We really think that, video games are a multi-billion-dollar industry, and we wanted to just make sure that people with disabilities were included in the fun.
What was sort of the genesis of the charity?
So Able Gamers was really kind of founded out of a need in my own family. I'm a service-disabled veteran, but my disability doesn't really affect the way I play video games. My best friend from the 6th grade, we grew up together, was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in the early 2000s. We used video games to stay connected. She was a military wife. I had left the military and was starting my own career. And video games were just a tool that we used to kind of stay friends and have fun and still be together, even though we were 2,000 miles apart.
Right.
So on Fridays, we used to always play together. And one Friday, my friend didn't log in. So I gave her a call, and her husband picked up the phone, and I could hear my best friend crying in the background. So I did what any friend would do, and I said, like, what's wrong? What's going on? And what we found out was that day, multiple sclerosis had decided that the hand that she plays with her mouse with didn't want to work. And so she wasn't going to be gaming. And she was really upset because, multiple sclerosis was taking away something she really, really loved. And so instead of playing that night, I kind of spent time on the internet looking for some solutions that I thought would help her, because my Friday nights were something I looked forward to, and I didn't want them to go away. And we weren't really finding anything that was actionable. So we kind of took that as a calling, that maybe if disabilities was affecting the way my family was enjoying video games, and there might be other people that had a similar challenge. And so the mission of Able Gamers was born.
And just out of curiosity, what game were you guys playing?
So at the time we were playing EverQuest 2. So we're kind of dating ourselves.
Whoa, yeah.
But we started in playing EverQuest. I'm much older than I sound.
No, I remember EverQuest.
But that was one of the first real social games where you were in a world with other real people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, definitely before WoW. I mean, sort of WoW came in and sort of broke the mold and changed everything. But certainly before that, EverQuest was the thing.
Yeah.
So what solution did you eventually come up with for her?
So we had found a couple. I mean, the thing with, if anyone who has multiple sclerosis knows that, it toys with you. So a month and a half later, her mouse hand came back to life, and she was able to mouse again. But in the meantime, we had found a product that isn't even available anymore, called an Ergodex, which let her move keys anywhere she wanted and program them the way she wanted. And she was able to create a little custom keyboard that allowed her to use her left hand to mouse, because we'd streamline the keyboard for her right hand, which she was having problems with, to the point where she could actually play a little bit again. And what we really initially created was just a safe space for people with disabilities. We kind of created a website, and our idea was, well, people can have a place to share solutions, and people will have a place to ask questions, and other people with disabilities can kind of share what they did. And that worked a little bit, but it didn't work like we thought it should. So we really just forced us to kind of grow and really own this concept of game accessibility, not just as a safe place, but as a mission to fight for.
Right. I mean, I've been seeing, sort of homemade, home-brewed accessibility solutions for consoles for quite a while. But they're usually pretty rare, and it's usually sort of just one-offs.
Do you?
Well, and they are, because every disability, I mean, every person who is looking for ways to interface, needs something slightly different. We actually created, with the help of Evil Controllers, a controller. We really have kind of this thought process when we approach creating custom stuff that 80% of the problem is repeatable. So 80% of talking to the console and having the console listen to whatever device is that challenge is repeatable no matter what the last 20% is.
Right.
So our approach is really not customized individual solutions from beginning to end, but what we tried to do is standardize 80% of it and customize 20% of it. That makes it repeatable. It also is a little bit better from a funding perspective because you don't have to reinvent the wheel each individual time. And we still get the flexibility we need to help people.
So do you guys mainly do you mainly work with hardware, or are you also involved in sort of the software part of it where you're partnering with different game development companies?
So Able Gamers really quickly, as we started this endeavor, realized that in order to really win what we wanted, we really had to focus on game developers, because it really doesn't help us at all if the types of options that people with disabilities need aren't included in the game. So very quickly after we started, we realized this and started making inroads into the game space. And I can't actually even tell you the number of patches and the number of features that have been added because of feedback from Able Gamers. I mean, right off the bat, you mentioned World of Warcraft. I can think of at least 5 things that were added over the years to World of Warcraft based solely on the feedback that we were giving the people at Blizzard. One of the first patches, as a matter of fact, to EverQuest 2 was a colorblind patch that I suggested when I went to the studio before the game launched. So one of the first patches that came out for the commercial version of EverQuest 2 was a colorblind, because they had marked their monsters red for harder than what you can do. There was this thing called the con system. So if you could kill it, it was green. If it was going to be a challenge, it was blue. And if it was going to kill you instantly, it was red. Well, people that were red-green colorblind couldn't tell the difference between stuff they could kill and stuff they couldn't.
Right.
So one of the first patches they added was a visual perspective where they put some kind of filigree around the name of the monster if it was red. So not only was it red, but it also had a visual cue for you.
Right.
By being fancy, that it was probably going to get fancy on you.
Right.
Don't poke the dragon.
Correct.
And so I guess initially, you would be approaching them, but these days, do they approach you and ask you to sort of give a interface, a run through, and give them suggestions?
So I'm under a ton of NDAs on a lot of different things, but the answer to your question is yes. I have been privileged to see a lot of amazing games long before they hit the shelf. And through the hard work that me and my team have done, where we have proven ourselves time and time again to be advocates and supporters, oftentimes we just get cold calls. One of my team members will just get a call from their friend at, insert game company here that says, hey, Steve, I'm trying to figure out how we would approach this. Here's what the scenario looks like. What do you think? And, Steve or myself or whoever it is they happen to reach out to, be like, oh, yeah, just do this and this, and I think you'll have it tackled. And they're like, okay, great, thanks, and then just hang up. So, that's why I say I think we've lost count with the number of things that we've helped. And I think to that point, we've been doing this for so long that I think game companies really are doing a much better, not perfect, job of kind of knowing what the answer is even before they ask us the question.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of going to be my next question was, whether or not, what your take on it, whether the industry has become a lot better, because it from the outside, certainly it looks like it's more of a conversation these days than it used to be 10 years ago.
So more than it was 10 years ago, 1,000% correct. What I think has happened is that we have been kind of beating at the gate, trying to get game companies to understand that people with disabilities are a market that is worth catering to. And it's taken some time, but they have in the last couple of years really started to listen. And I think that's really due to the prevalence of video games in our society now, but also, the advocates out there trying to show, and it's really funny, it was what we never did as an organization, and what we don't do is we don't tell game companies a sad story. We don't go like, oh, so and so can't play your game, sad face, you should put a feature in there that lets so and so play the game. I can get a response from that, but I will only get a response one time for one game. Because of my own business background, we really took on this model of showing people with disabilities as a valued market that had money that needed to be spent, and that we will spend it on stuff that creates the features that we need. And by approaching that, I think that for game companies really triggers a different part of the brain where they're like, it is a crowded market.
Yep.
And more people are developing games. I want a market differentiator. I want to say, of course you can play my game because I want players. Let me include these features that these able gamers folks are asking for, because why wouldn't I want more gamers?
Right.
And I think that was a win for us, because our story is, hey, help us help you make more money.
And that always works.
It works a lot better than many other strategies.
Absolutely.
Well, and and video games really have taken on a new meaning in the past, say, 10, 15 years, because it's not just about, simple entertainment. It can be used as a social platform as well, especially, the MMOs. And they're also heavy in the culture as well. And so to exclude any sort of demographic from that, I mean, it's important. It's important to include people with disabilities in those conversations.
100% agree. I think that the internet and the ability so games to me are no longer like tackle a puzzle, solve something, get better, win. I think they're tackle a puzzle, solve something, get better, win with friends. And I think
Right.
It's the with friends part that really moved video games from something that was kind of socially almost frowned upon 10, 15 years ago,
Right.
to like a valid form of entertainment. Like, I can spend time watching a movie with my friends, or I can spend time, at my friend's house, or we can jump on a game and have as meaningful an experience in a world that technically doesn't exist, but the social aspects of it are 100% real.
And I'm going to ask you, Mark, this is Ryan. Rob and Steve are both gamers, and I'm totally blind. So have you guys worked with anybody who has a visual impairment or total blindness and tried to adapt or have games adapted?
So this is a sticky wicket for me. I'm not going to lie. We have done our best to foster developers who are making games for the blind. And we do have audio people who are educating game companies on how to better include people with visual impairments. But there is a real challenge, because it's still a money issue of getting, especially AAA mainstream gamers, to game companies to buy into the total blind accessibility market.
Right.
Because it's really, in their minds, hard. And I am not saying this as me, I'm saying this as something that I've been told, is that the market is so small that there's no rate of return if something like a Grand Theft Auto were to put in all the pieces that would need to be put in to allow a totally blind person to enjoy it.
Yeah, and I understand that. A lot of it, it comes down to same with electronics manufacturers. Once they realize that building accessibility into their products is important, my dollars are just as important as the next person's. So,
But
as
that
small as the
said,
market is.
But that said, I will say that the indie game development world, this new world where someone with an idea and a couple of bucks and a programming background can create a game and get it out there, has, I think, in the last 5 years, changed gaming for the totally blind and the visually impaired, because we just funded a Kickstarter of a New Zealand group that is making a gaming platform to develop blind games, because we as an organization want everyone gaming, and sometimes the best way we can make that happen is just to fund other projects that are working towards that goal. And that to me is the indie market has changed, because the rate of return there is so low, in the sense of, if it's just one guy who has this idea and he pounds it out in a weekend, throws it up on the Steam store, or throws it up in the Android marketplace, he just needs 10 or 15 people to adopt his game, and he's in a net positive.
Right.
That to me, and that's not just because it's a blind game, that's because that's what the indie marketplace is doing, that a developer can kind of put his own sweat equity into a project and can potentially make money off it without the studios and without the publishers.
Right.
I think that is a revolution in gaming, not just for the visually impaired, for all gaming.
Sure.
That is amazing, and why I think accessibility in the AAA space has gotten better. It's because the indies were much earlier adopters.
Right, and it's especially given the advent of digital distribution, I think was part of that as well. It really changed the game in terms of helping indie game developers flourish.
Yep, we could develop a game on this podcast, if any of you can program, and we can have it up onto a marketplace, in a matter of hours.
Right.
And that's kind of amazing.
It is.
Let's do it.
That'll be a much longer podcast.
Okay, well, you know what? Tell us a little bit, because it sounds like you guys are kind of two-pronged in a way. I mean, you sort of working with game developers on the back end, but I mean, you also help gamers like who would come to you and ask you to build a system for them. Can you tell us a little bit about that process and what it's like?
So we do have an accessible Center on Inclusive Play. It's located outside of Washington, D.C. in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, but we do take it elsewhere, but this is where our headquarters is. And we have people come in, and we have a lab that they can come into, and we have all the equipment that we would need from an off-the-shelf perspective, but we also have like crafting material so that we can craft things. And they can come in and work with one of our accessible technologists, and we basically figure out how to get them gaming again. There's actually a third prong, which is sometimes people with disabilities can't afford the things that we come up with. If you've got like spinal muscular atrophy or advanced cerebral palsy or something like that, the controller that we end up having to build for you can cost upwards of $2,400 when it's all said and done.
Right.
And people with disabilities, especially if you're not working, have real limitations on spending that kind of money on something that's not food and shelter.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So we have a grant program where we use the money that is given to us by the public and corporations, because we are a charity, and we just pay for that. We build that controller and give it to them for free. I mean, it's not really free. We just don't charge them anything for it, because ultimately, at the end of the day, we want people gaming. We want people to have fun. We want them to have rich social experiences. We want them to have friends. We want them to be able to present themselves in a way that, doesn't, where their disability doesn't define them for them. This is the great thing about video games is, you can just be whatever you want to be. And we want everyone to have that. So we'll just grant controllers to people who can't afford them.
That's awesome. What kind of AT do you actually use to sort of integrate into the different systems? I imagine like switches and eye gaze systems.
So we have eye gaze. We use eye gaze style systems. We have this partnership with Evil Controllers where we created the Adroit Switchblade, which is a patch panel for switches that talks natively to Xbox, but we can use some trickery to get it to talk to PlayStations and even computers. But again, it does 80% of the work, and then the switches and the things we build with the switches becomes the 20%. We have had some really great success with the new Xbox Elite controller because it has some features in it that people are gravitating to, like you can program the trigger switches to be so they don't have to be pushed all the way down, but literally just tapped and they'll fire. We do a lot of custom arcade sticks, which are like controllers that are laid out flat on a table. This is really good for somebody who doesn't have fine motor skill, but has control of their arms, but not necessarily their fingers. We even have quad sticks, so controllers that just use your mouth and your breath to control games.
And I mean, what's your take on the, like, are Microsoft and PlayStation, are they getting better at, or at least more open to the idea of universal design? Like, do you think we'll get to a point where they actually build the controller from the ground up? It's just an accessible controller.
Do I think that we're going to see a controller that is universally designed ready? I'd like to think so. Am I going to see it in the near future? I don't know. But I will say that with the controllers the way they are, where they have, it's possible. Now, is Microsoft paying attention? I do think they're paying attention. But I don't know when we're going to see something like that. But I would like to see it.
Well, I do know that they've started working on incorporating narrator into the Xbox as well. So accessibility seems to be, a big push right now in the mainstream.
Well, there's a reason for that, though. There's a legitimate reason. So our Federal Communications Commission a couple of years ago passed something called the CVAA, which, in really going to dumb it down, but it talks about telephony and how people with visual impairments can use communication. And for a long time, for a couple of years, gaming devices were waived out of this need. But that waiver has expired. And in the process of that waiver expiring, game companies, because they had to comply, were starting to make this exploration into how they could do this. Now, what I think is really great about this is that was a catalyst, but now that they've started doing it, I think that's why you're seeing the big push for accessibility. CVAA doesn't really require accessibility, from what I've read, beyond this really small use case. But companies, what it did do is it woke up where, they had heard us before talking about us, but now the federal government is telling them, hey, you need to pay attention to this piece of disability legislation. And they kind of went, oh, okay. And then so to their credit, I think that they are taking it further than now they're seeing, oh, this isn't that hard. And what they're asking for isn't really that big of a deal.
Right.
I mean, Microsoft just released in their patch, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it allows you to tether two controllers together as if they were one controller. Now, most people would go, that sounds kind of goofy. But for someone who might have no ability to hold a controller, having a controller that they can control with their left hand and the other side they can control with their right hand,
Right.
and they don't have to be near each other, that was an accessibility feature.
Right. Right. Huh.
I just want to be able
But-
to use a mouse instead of a controller. I'm a diehard PC gamer, and my son just kicks my ass on any kind of console.
I can tell you how to.
Oh, can you?
It's possible. Oh yeah, it's possible.
Anything is possible. Well, let me ask you this then. In terms of the different platforms, because you're dealing with PC gaming, you're dealing with Xbox, and you're dealing with PlayStation. Is any one system or console a little easier to customize than the other?
Yes. Truth be told, PC gaming is the winner
Right.
because the USB port is open.
Right.
So I don't need tricks. I don't need gimmicks. I don't need hoops to talk to a PC. I need tricks. I need gimmicks. I need hacks to talk to the PlayStation and Xbox, because the communication protocol between that controller and that device is an encrypted, closed loop system.
Right.
And you can make Xbox controllers or PlayStation controllers, but the SDK is a $300,000 to $1 million license.
Ouch.
Wow.
Meanwhile, you can download a basic HUD driver for free and build a peripheral that uses HUD, which is, and USB for nothing.
Right.
So, but the reality is not all games are on PC, so we work with all of them. But if I were coming into gaming for the first time and wanted the most flexibility I could possibly get, I would steer you towards the PC.
Yeah, I suspected that. But is the Xbox though a little easier than the PlayStation because it's similar to Windows, a Windows hierarchy,
No.
or a PC hierarchy? No.
No, because the one thing that's blocking it is the protocol between the controller and the machine.
Right.
So do you always modify the controllers? Like, do you ever interface directly with the machine itself?
You can't. That's the problem.
Oh, okay.
It only listens to one thing. So everything has to basically dongle off of a controller. There's a chip sitting on the board that has a license key in it, and basically the communication is, hey, are you real? Yes, here's my number. Got it, let's talk. I have to negotiate that every single time, and the only way I can negotiate that is to do it through the controller.
Now, here's a question, and just pure conjecture.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that that's something that they would ever look at and change on the consoles to make it easier?
Pure conjecture, probably. If the demand was there, and more importantly, if PlayStation did it and Xbox didn't, or Xbox did it and PlayStation didn't, they're in a competition.
Right.
So it's really who's going to blink.
Right.
But the reality is they make a ton of money off of controllers. You lose them, you break them, and they charge you $65 for a new one. I think the thing probably costs $6 to make.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which is why they charge $200,000 to $1 million for an SDK, because they want their money.
Right.
So way back in the day, going back, well, maybe not that many years ago, but with the early PlayStations, there used to be all kinds of hacks and mods for them, mostly around trying to steal games. But is that not around anymore? Has that pretty much been defeated by the manufacturers? Any kind of hardware modding?
I think so. I mean, it's hard to say because I was never a super modder, but I think that they've got the DRM pretty tight, and I think they have the DRM pretty tight without being intrusive.
Right.
So, I mean, they're doing everything they can to keep people from trading in their games, but other than that, I don't see a lot of console hacks directly anymore.
Right.
What are some of the, I don't know, the frustrations that you guys come up against in terms of modding? And I mean, we may have already covered this in talking about some of this stuff, but you know, what's not sort of meeting expectations in terms of developers right now, and what is?
I think everyone's kind of meeting expectations. I know that's not the answer you want to say. I think that everyone I think right now is legitimately doing their best. What's really missing is potentially the knowledge gap. They might not quite understand what the best is, but I think everyone's really doing their best. The frustration I have, I really do mean it when I say we struggle very, very hard to get across that communication gap. I mean, if I could, find a genie that would give me some wishes, I think the wish that I would ask for is to let me talk to the console directly. Other than that, I mean, and that would just get frustration out of my way.
Right.
I've already figured out how to bridge it, but I would have more options if I didn't have to bridge it.
Right.
But I think developers could definitely do better, but I see more and more accessibility, and I see more and more people asking about it, and I see more and more going on with it than I've ever seen before. I'm seeing button remappability, which is important for people with disabilities, now on the console level on both Xbox and PlayStation. If you would have told me that was going to happen 5 years ago, if I was 5 years ago, you would have asked me that, I would have told you, no way, they don't care. But both of them have it now. This ability to toggle two controllers together on Xbox is great. PlayStation had that for years. I'll just give them credit where credit is due. But to call that an accessibility feature. Naughty Dog just released an Uncharted game, and for the first time ever in a AAA game, in the options panel, there's the word accessibility, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That a AAA game has the word accessibility in the options panel.
What sort of features do they include in that?
I hate that game, so I didn't play. But they have mouse sensitivity and colorblind mode, and they did a really phenomenal job. I don't really hate the game. I just never liked the Uncharted series.
I'm with you.
I play builders and MMOs and fun stuff.
Yeah, I got bit by the MMO bug for many years. I took some vacation days in Azeroth.
Yeah, Asheron's Call was one of my favorites back in the day.
Yeah, I remember that. Wow, that does date you.
Yeah,
You're old.
No, I'm old as hell.
If I can remember it, damn, that makes you old.
My first gaming system was an Atari. I was the first person on my block to have a Nintendo system with Robbie the Robot. My first computer was a Commodore 64.
Oh yes.
Okay, Mark, I'm gonna blow your mind here. I had Pong.
Oh, I'm gonna blow your mind. I got to play the Brown Box, which was the proto Prong, with the guy that created Ralph Baer in his basement.
Okay, you've got way better nerd cred than I do.
And I have a YouTube of it.
Wow.
And he also created Simon, the game with the 4 colors.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh my God, really?
And he signed my Simon for me.
Wow.
Holy crap.
He passed away a couple of years ago. His story was amazing. He fled Nazi Germany, came to the United States, joined the army. Because he could speak German, they sent him to England to help translate messages. He helped win the war, came back, used his GI Bill, went to college, and then invented video games.
Wow.
Holy crap.
Crazy.
Oh, I remember those Simons. The big red thing, the big red brick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Beep, boop, boop.
Yep.
Oh my God. That's right.
And speaking as somebody who's blind again, that's one of the games that's accessible to me. So I want to start playing Call of Duty. Make it happen, Mark.
I'm working on it. I'm going to tell you again. I don't play a lot of shooters. I'm loving Battlefield 1 right now. I don't really like modern warfare games because I was in the military, and you either go one way or the other. You either like modern warfare games or you don't, and I'm kind of in the don't. But Battlefield 1 went back to World War One, so I don't really have references for that, and I'm enjoying the heck out of that game.
Yeah, I just want to play something other than card games.
Well,
Getting kind of tired of them.
Ryan, you've already mastered part of the skills that you would need for Call of Duty, which is the shit talking. You can already do that. So
that's like 60% of the game.
Pretty much.
Excellent.
You can just log in and just stand there. And
give me a gun, run around,
you
start
suck,
shooting.
dude.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, just equip the knife, run around, and keep thrashing the knife, and eventually you'll hit something.
I'll have to go over to Stephen Robs and try it sometime.
I call it antisocial gaming.
Tell us a little bit about what kind of events you guys go to.
So we go to gaming events like PAX and things like that, so that we can just raise awareness and raise money so that we can give controllers away.
Right.
We go to events like Abilities Expo. We were actually, the last one we did was in Toronto, where we bring kind of the stuff from the lab to show people with disabilities some of the controllers that might be available to them. And then we're heading to CSUN in a couple of weeks to just do a talk. Those are the kind of events. They're a mix of fun and boring.
Right. And what's your main fundraising push? Like, how do you guys tend to raise money?
People donate on our website.
Okay.
Which is www.ablegamers.org.
Perfect. And
you see how well he rattled that off there, Rob?
I think he was prepared.
They didn't make me the executive director for nothing.
Wait, can you remember the website? Okay, you're
www.ablegamers.org.
Great. And I'm assuming that anybody who is also interested in reaching out and maybe talking to you about a system or what you can do for them can reach you the same way?
Yeah, if you go to our website, there's a button right at the top that says Get Help, and then follow the Get Help path, and you can send us a message. We'll ask you some questions and help streamline, so that we understand exactly what you need help with. And we will do our best to get a response to you. We are mostly a volunteer organization, so we're not always as quick as we should be, but we do get through all of it, and we will try to guide you where you need to be.
Fantastic. And we'll make sure that we include a link in the show notes to the site. So yeah, anybody who is interested, throwing them some money, you need a customization to your system, drop them a line.
It's true.
Mark, thanks so much for stopping by and chatting with us. This was really cool.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
All right.
Thanks much, Mark.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
That
Well,
was
that's
pretty good. That was cool.
Yeah.
That was very interesting. Right, Ryan?
I want to play video games. So
you know
tired
what?
of blackjack and
No,
solitaire
he's
and
got
crap like that.
He's got a really good point about Call of Duty, man. Just equip the knife and just run. Just run at things. Like, honestly, like,
When they hit walls and buildings and stuff.
that's
Oh, yeah.
not. That doesn't matter. Just all you need to know is how to stab and just run and stab. Honestly, that's not all that much different on how I play, anyways. It's true, right, Steve? Steve's played.
Really, I think rather than the knife, you should equip the grenade.
Oh, even better. Because trust me, we're all playing against 12-year-olds,
Yeah.
and they're all just
Kicking our ass
sniping
anyway.
us
Oh,
from a
they're
roof
just
somewhere
Killing
anyway.
us. God, I remember Mike wasn't Call of Duty. What was it? Oh no, I think it was one of the Call of Duties. He got it on the console, and I'm used to playing it online, so I was okay online. I wasn't good, but
Right.
I could hold my own for 2 or 3 minutes. Well, get on the console, all of a sudden I'm doing it with my thumbs, and
It's hard.
it's so much harder to aim. And,
It is.
And Mike's doing things like, okay, Dad, look up. Look, no, a little higher, little higher. Okay, a little to the left. boom.
Yeah,
And then he'd shoot me as soon as he came on screen.
That's funny.
no, it's true. I mean, because me and Steve are both the same. We cut our teeth on first-person shooting on the PC.
Yeah.
Like, that's where all the games were. Like I remember when I first started here. Remember you were big into Rainbow Six,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
You had parties you'd LAN parties and stuff that you'd play that
Yeah.
every Friday.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's the same for me. So it's hard to make that transition to a console first-person shooter. I still suck at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't play console games unless they're, like, I don't know, a driving game or something.
Right.
Like I played Grand Theft Auto on console,
Sure.
I think, but that was about it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So no, that's super interesting. I mean, it sounds encouraging that the industry is sort of taking a more serious look at the idea of universal design. It sounds like both software and hardware. So it's kind of about time.
It is.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he's absolutely right. It's a huge demographic. I mean, especially things like MMOs that do act as a social outlet for people. So people who are, somebody who's in a chair who spends a lot of time at home, it's such a invaluable outlet for them to be able to play with their friends and to be social, right?
Yeah.
And for us who aren't nerds, what is MMO?
Oh, I'm sorry. A massive multiplayer online
Oh, okay.
game. So it's basically there's only an online component.
Right.
You log in, you're always online.
Right.
There's no single player component to it at all.
Okay.
Ryan,
Rob.
where can people find us?
They can find us at www.atbanter.com.
Fantastic. They can also email us at atbanterpodcast@gmail.com.
Finally. Whoa, you did it.
First take.
I know.
That's crazy.
Right?
Oh.
Ta-da.
And don't forget, we've also got the Facebooks and the Twitters
And the YouTubes.
and the YouTubes, but no Pinterest.
Nope.
Still no Pinterest.
Although we're kicking around the idea about Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody was sort of selling me on Instagram, but I don't know what we're going to post pictures of.
Yeah, because nobody wants to see us.
Flowers, I guess. I don't know. We'll think of something.
Yeah.
Yeah, not us.
No.
No, definitely
There's
not.
nothing-
Yeah, we've got to stay
Hidden.
mysterious.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. Enshrouded in the fog of the internet.
that's right. Just sexy voices.
That's right. Excellent. Well, then that is going to do it for us for this week. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we will see you next week.
Ciao.
Music provided by bensound.com.